So today I'm going to talk about how you could make $60,000 on a deal that's listed on the MLS with no marketing costs. That's the topic of today's Deal or No Deal. Now, before I jump into today's show, if you have not been to our website, you got to head over to nextlevelwholesaling.com. If you're looking to build a business that spits off monstrous amounts of cash flow, you're looking to work less hours, get off that treadmill, and have a business that serves you, head on over to nextlevelwholesaling.com and take the assessment. This is something that my mentor gave to me. He says, Todd, you got to get off the treadmill. You got to build a business that serves you and not the other way around. So we created this tool, the Next Level Wholesaling Assessment. It wasn't called this back then. And it basically had me rate myself in the 4 areas of my business. And so I took it and I'm like, wow, I've got some stuff to work on. But here's like the very next thing that I need to work on. And so it's my gift to you. Go to nextlevelwholesaling.com, totally free. It'll give you a score and you'll be like, wow, I see what my next move is here. So nextlevelwholesaling.com, take the assessment. Let me know what your score is or how it helps you. And hit me up at Instagram at Todd Toback. Love to hear what you think you can do to increase your business. Although after you take it, I think you'll have a pretty good idea. All right, so let's talk about this deal, today's episode. This is the 3rd installment of Deal or No Deal. And this was really, really interesting because it was brought to us by a JV partner. And this property was in a little town called Fallbrook, California. It's like kind of on the outskirts in the country setting, not very desirable to a large amount of people. And so when the market slows down, areas like this tend to get hit first. But great property, great condition. Seller has it listed on the multiple listing service, okay, on the market with an agent for like 6 months. Not moving. And so, I kind of have a rule that if a house doesn't sell in 45 days, it's completely overpriced. You got to drop the price like immediately. Unfortunately, the agent's not competent here, and they've held this price for $675,000 for 6 months, the entire 6 months. And the seller is actually willing to go down on price, but because the agent has not lowered the listing, it's from 675. The deal hasn't sold. The interesting thing is I know that this thing would fly off the shelf at $599. A retail buyer would buy this at $599,000. So we call up the seller. Seller calls us off a mailer. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is a JV deal. This came to us from a JV deal. I don't know where the JV partner brought it, but the JV partner offers her $400,000. Seller says, no, I can't do that, but I will take $500,000. Now, this is the interesting thing. Because of the area and the value is about $599, right? No flipper is going to buy a house for $500,000, put a little renovations into it, and then try to sell $599, right? The price point's too high. It's in a weird area. It's already been on the market at $675. It's kind of scary, not a very good deal. So the question is, what do you do here? The thing is, the house is in decent condition. So do you walk away? Do you say, there's no deal here? Well, that's what amateurs do. But because you are a stealth negotiator, you know how to add value. You slow things down. You know how to squeeze maximum profit out of every single deal. I'm going to show you how you can make $60,000 profit on this deal and why you shouldn't walk away in this episode of Deal or No Deal. We got to get some music for the podcast here to ring in the middle. So how are we going to structure it? So it's interesting because I looked at it and I'm like, I kind of don't want to do this deal, but I was like, if the seller is willing to do our terms, let's do it. So I said, okay, why don't we structure it this way? I said, why don't you tell the seller that we are going to give her $500,000 for the property, but we even think that's too much, right? But we're going to list it on the multiple listing service and market it before we close. And not only that, but our funds are going to be coming from an end buyer that we're going to sell it to. Now, most people are going to think, well, why would the seller do that? I'll come back to that in a minute. Let me talk about the numbers. We're going to list this property at $599. We have it under contract for $500,000. We expect to get that $599, no problem. Maybe even a little bit more because we're going to create a little bit of a feeding frenzy because we think it's below market. Remember, the seller had this listed at $675. So you may think, Todd, why wouldn't the property sell at $675? How are you going to create a frenzy? When stuff is like listed too high and it's just sitting there, sellers don't look at it. Buyers don't look at it. It's just too high. And they oftentimes don't make bids low. So because we came in and talked to the seller and built rapport, the seller basically accepted our $500,000 offer. And they're not going to have to pay any commissions on that $500,000. We have it in our contract, right? We also have it in our contract that we can list this property on the multiple listing service. So immediately, and by the way, we brace the seller for that, right? We immediately are going to get new professional pictures done. And we're just going to have a cleaning person just walk through the property and take some trash in the yard. And this property is like good to go. I mean, this is like less than like $500, right? Pictures are $300 and probably $200 to get rid of the stuff from 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Otherwise, like really great property. We're going to list it at $599. We're going to offer, our agent's going to get 1.5%, and we're going to offer another 2.5% to the buying agent, maybe 3%. So if we sell it at $599, we will sell this place and net in our pocket $561,000 because you have closing costs and you have real estate commissions that we have to pay, right? So our spread between our buyer and the original seller is $500 to $561, right? Because we're going to sell it to $599. We have to pay the commissions and the closing costs. So it's about $561, take off about $1,000 for our cleanup and pictures and, you know, some other knickknacks, doodads. That's about $60,000. Now, our new buyer is going to get a loan. We are going to do something that I've talked about the show called innovation. So once we have that buyer, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that buyer and I'm going to put that seller together and I'm going to have them do the contract together. I am then going to create an invoice. And what I mean by an invoice, it says, Todd Toback is due $60,000. Here's my bank account information, routing number, account number. Send it right into escrow. And I'll have them sign something called a net proceeds agreement, basically explaining how I'm getting paid and why I'm getting paid. Basically, I'm getting paid $60,000 to be bought out of the transaction. And that basically is an ovation. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. Now, you might be thinking, Todd, why the hell wouldn't the seller do this themselves? And the question is sometimes, I don't know. Why do people do the things they do? I am not in the business of trying to figure out why people do what they do, but I'm in the business of getting them out of the problems that they're in because they did what they did or didn't do, right? So if you're in your own head thinking, why would the seller do this and why haven't they done this? That's the wrong question to be asking. The right question is, how can I make money helping the seller from what they did or going to do or what they're not going to do, right? And so be a problem solver. My best guess, the seller has kind of lost hope. They're tired. They're fatigued. They lost faith in their agent. And so what we give them is confidence. We give them certainty. You know, we're going to bring in professional pictures and clean up a little bit, right? I mean, that only costs $1,000, but we got the know-how. We also have the know-how that if you have a property listed too high, it's not going to do anything, right? So now the seller doesn't have any faith in agents. And she's like, hey, these guys are super confident. They know what they're talking about. They move at a good speed. I like them. It also could be that the seller is like the seller's agent's a friend or a relative, and sometimes they're incompetent and they're just tired of it, right? So that's what's going to happen in this deal. And so we're going to do this deal. We have this deal currently under contract, and it's actually going on the multiple listing service this week. So really, really, really excited about that. And hopefully we'll make $60,000. And so the answer is, this is a deal. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news because this is a JV deal and actually brought to us by a listener on the podcast. And by the way, you know who you are. I love you. I appreciate it. Let's make some money together. And by the way, if you want to do a deal like this, you know of a mobile home park or a great deal here in SoCal or a great deal in Florida, that's where we do business. On any of those, you can email support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. Love to do deals with my listeners. But they're going to earn half that deal. on this one. So they're going to earn 30 grand and we will earn 30 grand. I usually like to make 50K per deal, but hey, beats a sharp stick in the eye, and super happy for the listener who is also a newbie. I think this will be their first deal. So super excited for that. That puts a big, big, big smile on my face. So if you've got a deal like this or you've done it, leave a message in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you are listening to this on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. So send an email to support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. If you've got a deal you want to tell us about, maybe we'll put you on the podcast. And man, I just love talking about these deals, but I'd like to hear about your deals some more. So don't forget to head over to nextlevelwholesaling.com, take the assessment, and I will talk to you on the next episode.